Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. As you well know, international break is unbelievably boring, so I'm trying to bring my favorite content creators onto the channel to talk about the Spurs season so far and ask them some of the questions that I've dreamt up in the shower. Ash from Spurs Kings TV, how are you, mate?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on again, Barnaby. It's a pleasure to be here, but let's get into it, man.
Let's get into it. So tell me, Ash, what has been or who has been your surprise of the season Spurs-wise so far, would you say?
It's a mixture of surprises because I didn't expect Levy not to be here, number one. That really got me off my seat. That took me by surprise massively. He's been a big part of our club and culture and the way we do things, and also our brand as well. So to see him not around, and even like having Thomas Frank in the building, not having Levy alongside him is being completely different, and having a new structure in place, that's completely thrown me off as well.
Ash, can I just quickly interrupt and ask you how you reacted the moment you heard that Daniel Levy had left the building?
I kind of celebrated because I just felt finally we've broken the old guard, and I'm really optimistic about things new. So for me, when we move on, it means new opportunities, new ways of doing business. And for me, that means, you know, a potential of getting possibly players that we weren't being able to get over the line before because of the relationships with other clubs, etc. And also the way we recruit and the way we spend money, blah, 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 blah. So for me, that's why I was like, great, maybe we can kick on and maybe we can spend more money in certain areas and push the club forward. So for me, I was really excited.
Did you celebrate with a beer? Did you go and meet your friends? What did you do?
No, I was on my way to football at the time, so I didn't do any of that. But I phoned a few people and I was like, I can't believe it. I can't. Somebody pitched me. I feel like I'm dreaming. I just felt like
I don't think I believed it either. I think I was kind of digging around, double checking that we weren't being faked. And listen, and as you will have known, because we've spoken a lot, like I was never like staunch Levy out. I was always afraid. I was always afraid of what would come next. But of course, I never imagined that what would come next would kind of be just like a continuation, but with seemingly better communication and hopefully kind of less kind of stubbornness, I think, less kind of autocracy, I guess, and more what it seems like Vinay is bringing in or trying to bring in, which is a feeling of modernization of the club. Let me ask you what your moment of the season so far has been, and I'll tell you, I've already interviewed Yori this week, and he gave me his moment of the season, and I've suddenly realized that it might be that everybody answers the same way.
Yeah. It's got to be that Copenhagen win, wasn't it? It's got to be that Mickey van der Ven. That literally took my breath away. Throwback of, because you know what it is at the moment, the way the meta's going, the narrative at the moment is the way football's played is very systemized, quite robotic. It doesn't leave a lot of room for moments, and
it's boring, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very boring. It's very boring. It's not just us as well. I want to point that out.
Yeah.
But when Mickey van der Ven just took matters in, and also we went down to 10 men. So I literally thought we were going to be more pragmatic. But in fact, the reverse happened is they opened up because they wanted to force the question, ask questions, and we actually opened up the space. And then Mickey van der Ven out of nowhere just gave us a Son throwback.
Incredible goal.
I thought it was even more impressive because it was a defender as opposed to, and one of my favorite goals growing up, just the last point, was George Weah at AC Milan.
Yes, what a goal. Yeah.
And he starts from like just on the edge of his box from a corner, and he runs from one end of the pitch to the other. And that's really where my love of football as a young kid started to kind of manifest. So seeing goals like that, I mean, you do it as a kid in the playground, you try to take on the whole team. And to see that play out in real life, it's just things of imagination.
Yeah, so the George Weah one was incredible because he was kind of moving, in my memory, a little bit more kind of left and right rather than just a straight power. And then the one in the Premier League that really reminded me of that is, do you remember the, I mean, you're probably not old enough to remember it, but have you seen the Daly and Atkinson goal for Aston Villa against Wimbledon?
Yeah, I've seen that.
It was at Selhurst Park. It might have been against Palace when they were there, but that was more similar to the Weah one. But in terms of kind of the straight pace running style of that goal. The closest to Van der Ven's is Son's.
Yeah.
They are just so close. But you're
Identical.
absolutely right. For me, the fact that he's a centre half and that his hamstrings are made of Weetabix, I think makes it far more impressive goal. So here we are. We're 11 games in, and obviously we're still unbeaten in the Champions League. At this point, you know, if you were to have guessed, you know, if I were to ask you the question before the season, where do you think Spurs will be in the league in after 11 games, second international break, and how we'll be doing in the Champions League? Do you think we're kind of par, above par, or below par? How do you think we're doing?
Par. I would say par, because the fixture that we started off with, the fixtures that we kind of led into, in my head was saying these are the games that are winnable. So an easier start than we had last season in terms of like top 6 who were playing. I know we have played Man City, and traditionally Manchester United are a top 6 team as well. But just before we played them, I kind of looked at those fixtures coming into this difficult, you know, stats of fixtures that we're in right now. I thought those games that we need to pick up as many points as possible, and that will allow the fan base to give Frank a little bit of time because we're higher up in the table, and that would be a nice buffer. So if we did come across a few tricky games like we are doing now, we would have a little buffer, so we wouldn't be able to drop drastically down the tables. My worry always was, if we are below, let's say 10th, and we're in between 10th and 15th, does this fan base have the stomach? Do we have the patience, which we know we don't, to allow Frank to do what he needs to do within those first 10 to 11 games? So for me, it was vital. And I thought, yes, you know what? I think we will have a nice run of games. We will get points, and that would lead us in and around that kind of top 6, maybe top 4, even if all things go to plan. Do you know what I mean? And I knew there'll be a few hiccups along the way, because some of these smaller teams, sometimes they throw a spanner in the works, and literally that's what happened. So yeah, we're about where I thought we'd be.
About par. Let me just ask you, just based on what you were just saying, is there any part of you that thinks we, you know, looking ahead to the next game at the Emirates, that under Frank, it actually might be our best chance to really stodge up an away North London derby and maybe get a result there?
A lot of people are like, even before these big games started to come into, well, they're here now, really. But before these big games came, a lot of Spurs fans were saying that when he was at Brentford, he was that type of manager would set up well against those teams and get points and get those wins. And so they looked at the Arsenals, the Chelseas, the Liverpools, teams that we don't typically win against. And they were saying, yeah, these are the teams that we can get points against, because Frank will set up in a way to kind of nullify the opposition, and we could possibly hit them on the counter. Because there are some teams where we won't be able to be the protagonist or the main guy. Do you know what I mean? And some teams, you accept that you're going to have less of the ball. It doesn't mean that we're playing within ourselves. It just means that, you know, sometimes these other teams, they've got better players, they've got a better squad, so they are going to have more time and dominate on the ball. And in those times, in those moments, that's when Frank can kind of, like, you know, some people say stink it out, you know, stink it out, get the 1-0, get the ugly win. And so, yeah, looking forward into it though, how like that Chelsea game, that, because I was looking at that game especially, I was like, this for me is the test. Some people look at the Arsenal game because the emotion behind it, but I was looking at Chelsea's in terms of a big 6 team that we typically don't do well against. I was kind of looking at to see how Frank would set up against that. And it was quite concerning, not just offensively, but defensively, because a lot of the talk and narrative has been Frank will improve us, or Frank has improved us defensively. And I still have question marks, although a caveat to my own point is I still think defensively you have 1 or 2 players that need more time to understand what they need to do in 3 different phases, because we're not just high pressing, we're dropping into mid blocks at times. And I think when we're in a mid block, that's when I think some of the communication from some of the players, who goes who, when, who steps up where do we press, when's the trigger, that's when we kind of fall off in that kind of mid block. And some teams find it easier to pick us apart. Low block as well, we've seen again, we conceded against Manchester United. So there's a few, like I'd say, teething issues, in my opinion, in some of those defensive phases. Pressing, at front footed, we're a little bit better, but that would be understandable because we came from a high pressing manager from our previous manager, obviously before. So I think we're still learning in some of those phases.
Yeah, I know what you're saying about the Chelsea game. Obviously, I hoped that it would be much better than it was, but also it feels in a very strange way to me like there's less pressure on the team to try and stodge up a game at Arsenal. I know it sounds weird to say that because it's the North London derby, but all the pressure is on Arsenal at home. They'll be expected to come at us and expected to win. And if we can just, for me, if we can just keep them out for the first kind of 15 minutes, play our way into the game, and then not give away too many corners. I was just listening to a podcast actually this morning where they were saying Sunderland only gave away 2 corners against Arsenal. They were doing everything they could to not give away any corners. We have to try and do the same. But if we can if we can play our way into that game, then there will be no like booing or tutting from the away fans in the way that there was at home to Chelsea. And I don't know, I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. I've just got a feeling we might be able to kind of stodge it up and make something happen. Anyway,
to be fair though, that's a add on to that point. To be fair, we do travel away a lot better.
Yes, we do.
And there is less of that pressure of the home fans booing. So,
but then also to flip that, at the Emirates, we've got 1 League Cup win, 1 Yunus Kabul win, and I think 1 draw when we were 2-0 up when Eriksen scored, I remember, and then we let them back in. So, yeah, it's not really, history isn't really with us. I want some very short, kind of 1 or 2 word answers here for just a couple of questions. What is your favorite thing about Thomas Frank?
It's going to sound weird. Adaptability, tactical adaptability, and the fact that he doesn't change in cup games a whole team. He makes a few changes, which doesn't ultimately disrupt the structure of the team.
He's basically making a few changes, 4 changes in every game. I remember specifically last 2 seasons, Nathan and Windy from the Extra Inch talking about how livid they were that Ange wouldn't rotate. And now Frank is rotating pretty much every game. And I was absolutely beside myself at that Manchester United selection. But I guess, we got a point and we didn't have any more injuries other than a broken jaw. So maybe I just have to suck that up. What's your least favorite thing about Thomas Frank then?
Least favorite thing is, by the looks of it, the in possession stuff. At the moment, we look a bit lethargic on the ball, and for me, we just need to be. And I did say adaptable, but there's certain teams that we need to get across our principles a bit more in games, and I know we have to respect the opponent, but at the same time, you have to respect what we have. Do you know what I mean? We are a good team, we're a good outfit, and so sometimes you just have to trust in the players that we have and kind of impose ourselves a lot more on games. So that's my critique of Thomas Frank attacking.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think when he's got the players on the pitch, we're starting to see it down that left side. Obviously, Porro and Kudus, when they're both fit and firing on the right, they look like a good double act. And then when Udogie came back in that Copenhagen game, and then in the last 20 minutes against Man United as well. Okay, if you could ask Thomas Frank 1 question, what would that be, Ash?
1 question. I would probably say to him, I'll probably ask him about tactics. That very first question, that same question you just asked me, I want to know a little bit more about the attacking principles.
Why does it look one-dimensional?
Yeah. But how we differ from maybe Brentford, where Brentford was never had to be the team that dominated the ball. They could always be, second in charge. Like, how does he envision us being more of a possession-based team? If we're gonna go, because he did talk about 2.0, Brentford 2.0 being more possession-based. So I want to know how that looks and how he plays more centrally. Because at the moment, a lot of fans have been complaining about the horseshoe football, how we play around the peripheral, around the wider areas. And so I want to question him, what is his plans moving forward for the midfield, and also about the left and the right-hand side. The right-hand side a lot more dominant. How does he see the left-hand side improving, and what's his intentions for our strikers? Because I think that's a big question mark at the moment with him persisting on Richarlison.
Do you think there's any chance we go for Tony on loan in January?
Apparently he's had conversations with him. So I think if that is to be true, he's had conversations. And I know there's a massive taxing situation going on in the UK in terms of leavers. So if people want to migrate to another country and avoid tax, there's a lot of footballers at the moment that are abroad. So I know the Dubai situation and Saudi situation has to be sorted. So, and then they're trying to work things out as well as a club in terms of taxation for their situation. So there is a strong possibility he comes back for 6 months, and then you've got a loan battle between Moani and Tony, and whoever plays the best gets the contract. Like WWE when they've got you play for the contract, so they've got the suitcase above the ring, and they got to climb the ladder. Like, I think it should be one of those, man.
What do you like, Ivan Toney? Do you think he's been right for Spurs? Obviously, he's worked for Frank before. What do you think?
Frank says no dickheads, and he's worked with him, so he knows him inside out. He knows him inside. He knows him. What I like about Tony is that he can get in defenders' heads. He can rile them up in the right way, and also he doesn't fall over. He's a player that if you stick the ball into him, and he had this at Peterborough when he was at Newcastle, very physical. So you can go long and direct, and he will pick it out the air, a bit like what we see with Kudos on the right hand side. You've got someone centrally that can do that. Link play well. That's what he's really good at. So dropping in deep, linking the play well, and then also finding himself in that 6-yard box, being a nuisance. I remember when we played against him, and he was manhandling our centre backs, literally. And I would love another option where we didn't have to rely on a Richarlison to hold the play up, link the ball, and then actually in the air as well. Like, he's really a handful in the air. So not just in our box defending, but attacking where we need your strikers, your centre forwards. You need them to finish the dinner. And he's a type of player that can do all three, in my opinion. So for 6 months, someone that, and you know what, the final thing I would say about him is the personality trait. He's not a person that, if he's emotional, if he's not happy on his personal life, it's not going to affect him. Or if he misses a chance, that's not going to affect his game. He's going to keep on going because he's got that needle about him, that self-belief that he is the best. And you kind of need that, in my opinion, for a centre forward or any player. They just have to have that arrogance or that stubbornness, to say that, I am the best. I believe in myself.
Yeah.
And I'm an immovable object.
Yeah,
I get that from Tony. I get that. Even like if you look at his penalties.
I was going to say, and we wouldn't miss any penalties either.
Yeah.
Okay, one more question before half time. Difficult one, but where do you think we'd be in the Premier League and Champions League tables now if Ange hadn't been given his marching orders? And I guess I should also ask, do you think Ange would still be manager of Spurs if Levy had let him stay after winning the Europa League?
I think it's a hard one because, lots of people argue that he changed it for Europa. But for me, every Premier League game, he went back to his philosophy. And he's a philosophy style type of manager where he believes that, football should be played in the right way. He's more of a romanticist, in my opinion. And looking back now, a lot of people are like complaining that we need more sensible football, and he wants to play more attacking, front-footed, entertaining, attractive football. The problem is that the tweaks he was making weren't big enough, in my opinion, to negate some of the defensive flaws that he had. He was an attack-first manager. He didn't really focus heavily on how to kind of, stop those goals going in, and then also things like set pieces. They made a big thing about it, and he was like, listen, mate, if you want to concentrate about set pieces, if you don't think we're working, then that's your kind of problem. But we've now seen when he was at Forest, that was also an issue as well. So that would lead me to believe that if you look at those games, he would have probably, brought some of those tactics and those ideas along to what we've had already. And we would have probably started the season off poorly because there were teams that had figured out a way to, and you're seeing it throughout the Premier League right now. You're seeing Liverpool struggle because if you look at Slot, he likes the rotations with the midfield, and every player, doesn't stay in a fixed position. They like to move around, and that's what creates the gaps ultimately. Do you know what I mean? To breach the defense, and when you've got no cover, that's when you start to lose the odd goal. And the Premier League's ruthless. You've got teams that they take their chances. It's not like you're in a league where teams don't take their 1 or 2 chances. They do, and for ultimately that would affect the league position. And yeah, I think he might be out of a job by now.
Yeah, I think you might be right. And the main reason I think you might be right is the bunch up below Arsenal is so tight that Man City have kind of broken away a little bit, but I think we're like 1 or 2 points off kind of 13th, 14th. And we have picked up points under Thomas Frank that I just know we would not have picked up. Like, we might not have picked up as many wins as we should have done, or I feel like we should have done, but he's also picked up some points where we wouldn't have done under Ange. And I think we'd probably be down in like at least 14th, 15th. All right, just a quick word from our sponsor before the second half. Get yourself to okjersey.com, where you can buy the best football shirts around, including this one I'm wearing now, and of course, the absolutely magnificent black Spurs away shirt. And as if that wasn't enough, if you go onto their website and like the look of one of the shirts there, choose your size, pick the Champions League badge for the sleeve as well if you're that way inclined, then go to checkout and type the code BARN into the coupon section. That's BARN as in short for Barnaby. And when you do, you'll get a whopping 8% off your purchase. Now, I'm no mathematician, but 8% means if you've spent, say, and let's face it, I'm being optimistic here, 100 quid, then you get £8 off, not to be sniffed at. Get yourself to okjersey.com to pick one up, or if you're too lazy to type in the website, just scan the QR code that's on the left of me throughout this video. Enjoy. There we go, guys. Go and get a brilliant vintage Spurs shirt from okjersey.com and use the code BARN for 8% off. Okay, Ash. Next up, I want to ask you a little bit about Christian Romero's captaincy so far. What have you made from it? I did say during the summer, I said that if we could find a way to kind of get him to sign a new contract and offer him the captaincy, I think that is the way to kind of give him ownership over this Spurs side in a similar way to it feels like he has over Argentina in terms of just really wanting it. So I want to know what you've thought of his captaincy so far, 11 games in.
Captaincy versus performances. I'd say captaincy, he's done okay. You know, I wouldn't say he's pulled up trees. There's times when I've kind of want him to take the game, not necessarily by the scruff of the neck, but to kind of galvanize his team, to kind of like get in players' ears a little bit more and push them up the field. And then also, being a captain, you're very responsible for your own actions, not just others. And I felt at times when he's the type of guy where he wants to take actions into his own hands, and that can kind of lead to our own demise, which we did see against Wolverhampton, when he kind of tried to lead the press, kind of vacated his position, and therefore then leaded in a corner, because I think Bentancur was covering defensively, and then as they had that corner, that's what led to the goal ultimately. So it's those kind of things he needs to kind of iron out and not panic, but not kind of jump to not conclusions, but you know, try to take the game and take matters into his own hands. You have to just rely and respect the players in front of you, maybe instruct vocally as opposed to doing it yourself. So that side of the game, I think he needs to learn and manage a lot more. Because if you rush, you make mistakes. Yeah, and that can ultimately punish you at this level.
Were you surprised that he came off with kind of 5 minutes to go against Man United?
Yeah, actually,
he had cramp. They were definitely giving him the cramp, you know, the cramp medicine with the leg push.
Yeah, you know what? I think a part of what go back to what Thomas Frank we were saying about him, what he's done well. I think he's managing the team. You know, he's trying to keep players fresh, and he's seen what happened last season, and he's trying to negate that by taking players off a little bit earlier, not playing them for the full 90 minutes. We've seen how many injuries some of these players have. Romero's already suffered injury this season, so again, he's trying to manage some of his better players, and he knows the spine of the team. He knows if he plays them week in, week out, every single game, that they're going to probably drop into that. We've heard it so many times last season, the yellow zone, the red zone. Yeah. We're not privy to know how many players are in that particular zone. So maybe he's seeing that, and he's kind of managing that and talking to his team, his coaches, and they're advising him, you know, take this player off. And so, yeah, they always know better than us fans.
Yeah. Okay. So Vinay Venkatesham seems determined to show all of us, the fan base, that things are different now that Daniel Levy is gone and the Lewis family are in charge. I just want to ask how you think that could manifest itself in January, as in, do you think it might be that they go for like a big one, record transfer to try and show the fans this is how it's different? Or do you think it'll be more like maybe newer transfers kind of earlier in the window? I don't know. What's your instinct on that?
I would look at the climate at the moment, and the climate at the moment is that we're not very entertaining. We're not attacking enough. And so I would think a big portion of that transfer kitty will go towards that particular position unless we picked up a major and significant injury. So I personally think that we will splurge out for a big player, someone's marquee, and preferably I think it might be that left-hand side, because I think a lot of fans at the start of the season were looking for a Son replacement, which never came. And so that is something that, ever since the window shut and, games are kicked on, we can now see it play out in real time, where we need that left-hand side. That left-hand side hasn't been addressed. And as a result, a lot of our attacks are coming down one side. And I think Sky Sports did a piece where a lot of the sides, a lot of our attacks are on that right-hand side.
Yeah.
And less of the attacks are on the left. And so looking at that issue, I would say that a marquee signing from Vinay on that left-hand side, I think work's being done at the moment, obviously behind, closed doors. They're going to try and get that particular position sorted, in my opinion.
Do you like Rodrigo? He's the one who's being talked about a lot at the moment.
Rodrigo's a good signing. I think the issue with Rodrigo is the question mark would be the physicality. Premier League is very physical. The league is not. It's more technical. But he would be a marquee signing. That would be the one that will get everyone off their seats excited. He's a player that can play, on that left-hand side. Obviously, you've got Mbappe, he drifts off left, and Vinicius Jr., who obviously plays on that left-hand side. So there's no room for him. He's not as effective on the right. And that is the position. He's also played as a second striker before as well. So those are the two positions he would, he actually thrives in. And so if we bought him for that position, I think that would be a signing that will get everyone talking, especially not just Spurs fans, I think other fans as well.
Were you surprised Savinho signed a new contract at Man City? It seemed a strange one to me, where he was keen apparently to come to Spurs potentially because he wasn't getting enough minutes before World Cup. He then doesn't get many minutes at the start of the season, then signs a new deal. It seems a bit of an odd one to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like there was rumors that he was injured. Maybe that's why he wasn't starting so many games. But it was a bit of a Spursy thing. Again, I hate to use that word, because all the whole window we were linked with him, it looked like it might happen. It looked like it was going to happen. And then one thing happened, and we are where we are. He ends up signing a new deal, a bit like Morgan White. We thought that deal was done. And before you know it, he's the one that was signing the deal, the long-term deal. So I just, it is what it is at the moment. Football, it happens at 100 miles per hour. Things do change really quickly. Some people were kind of saying, maybe it was a case of the agent wanted more money and that's the reason why they kind of did that. But, it's one of those things. In another world, another time, we get that player over the line. But he hasn't really lit the house on fire at Man City compared to what Doku's doing at the moment. So maybe, who knows? It could have been a blessing in disguise, because they are using them on the right quite a bit and Doku's more on the left. So who knows? But I was going to say a position I would like to see filled in would be a central midfield. I think the profiles we have at the moment, there's a balance is quite off, and there's a lot of debate between Xavi Simons. Are we supplying him? Is he getting fed? Is he getting found? In the right positions. There was a time, of course, when he had the ball against Man United, and he's ran with it, but there's no one running with him. There's no runners behind him or in front of him. And so maybe we need a midfielder.
We were linked with Alex Scott again this morning, I saw.
Yeah, we were linked with Alex Scott, and he's a Spurs fan, as a lot of people. And we were heavily linked with him before he actually went to Bournemouth, but we decided to pull out of that, and maybe it's a better, because who knows? You've seen what's happened with Archie Gray. He's not really had a lot of time on the pitch in his right position.
True.
Maybe it was better that he did go to Bournemouth. And sometimes I think about Archie Gray, like, would it be being better having him on loan to like a Bournemouth or a team that's not, you know, the way he will get a lot of minutes and improve and see.
Maybe that's the answer. You do buy them from the Championship clubs when they're ready to be bought by a Premier League team, but then you loan them out for the first season. Don't forget, William Saliba was on loan from Arsenal for about more than 2 seasons, and now he signs a new deal, and he's one of the best centre halves in the world. So maybe that's something Spurs need to think about strategically going forward. Okay, I've just got 2 more questions for you, Ash. This is it, right? As we know, Spurs have hedged their bet on a lot of young players, as we were just talking about, the likes of Archie Gray, in the hope that they'll become kind of Bale-esque or Kane-esque world-class talents and grow to that at Spurs. Out of all of those young players that Spurs have bought or have in the academy, who has the best chance of being the next big sale, if you like? Do you know what I mean? And as negative as that sounds, I just mean like someone who really grows to become a world-class talent at Spurs and then realistically interests the likes of Real Madrid, etc.
Oh, like that. I was going to say, if it's like a player that to be sold that doesn't quite get over the line, I was looking at Tyrese Hall. Okay. He's doing quite well, and I know it's League 2, and or League 1, sorry, but second tier division. I just think his development's going well at the moment. A lot of coaches have praised highly about him. He's actually scored, I think it's 3 goals this season. But he's typically was used as a defensive midfielder. He's so gifted. You can play him all in all positions in midfield, centre mid, attacking mid, doesn't matter. He can do it all. And at the moment, they're using him as more of a centre mid / attacking mid for Notts County. And he's a player. I remember Defoe talking really highly of him.
I saw that.
He's saying that this kid, he can do it all. He can do it whatever he wants to do. He can do it. And so I was very intrigued to see his development. I did see a few games in Premier League 2 under 21s, and he was a player that he kind of had like a low center of gravity. Footballing IQ was there as well. Good link play, good understanding where to be on the pitch. So I was like, yeah, this guy's he's got a good future for me. Something like, I like players a bit like, like how Basuma was in that first season. Those kind of players that are kind of brave on the ball, want to get on the half turn, get their heads up, passes forward, So he kind of gave me those type of vibes. So I was going to say, Tyrese Hall, that we've got a few players on loan at the moment. They're doing quite well. But to say like the Real Madrid one, I couldn't really say. I'll be honest with you.
I'm gonna go with Lucas Bergvall. I think he's the one who's going to really push on in the next.
I thought you meant out of the academy.
It doesn't have to be an academy. No. Because obviously I mentioned Gareth Bale as well. We brought him in. I just feel like Bergvall is similar to Bale. We brought him in. He's a real talent. It's going to take a bit of time, but I really think he's gonna push on. But let me ask you just one more question then. Where are Spurs going to finish in each of the competitions they're still in? Premier League, Champions League, and FA Cup.
Premier League, I'd say 7th.
Would you be happy with that? Satisfied with that?
I would prefer 6th.
I think we're going to finish 6th. I have to say, that's what I think.
Yeah, I think the club like this size, we minimum should be Europa, and I think they're aiming for Champions League. But
I think Newcastle's sorry to interrupt, but I think Newcastle's away form is going to really help our chances of finishing 6th, because Newcastle are always going to be big at home, but they seem to be having a real problem away at the moment. And as far as I can tell, they don't have big injuries either. They've got all 3 of those central midfield players, and they're just really struggling away from St James's Park. I don't think Man United. I honestly, I was saying to my stepdad, who's a Man United fan, I thought both United and Spurs were pretty much dross the other day. I don't think United are. As soon as they get one bad result again, I think the cards will all fall down again. Villa, I think, will finish above us, and so it's just whether we'll finish above, Bournemouth and like I said, Man United, Newcastle. I think we have a chance to finish 6th.
I just think with Newcastle, it'll be interesting to see how Visa gets on.
True,
because he's one player I think they're missing in terms of attacking the front line. I think Voltamida likes to drop in a lot. and so therefore they don't have that runner in behind apart from Gordon, who's now injured.
Yeah.
But I think
Jacob Murphy has actually been playing quite well for them, hasn't he?
He has been there, and also I like the stint that I forgot his name now. He scored the other day. Harvey Barnes.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of verticality, a lot of players that like to run and crash the box, and that type of team. That's how Howe's got them playing, very transitional, straight lines, runners, etc., etc. But Voltemader's the one that drops off, so slightly different. But I just think,
who would score loads of goals for Newcastle? Brennan Johnson.
Yeah. He's similar.
He would.
But again, they've got another player like a Brennan Johnson who they signed from Nottingham Forest, haven't they?
Yeah,
Alanga. So Alanga's another vertical merchant. I think they need a player that's more technical, that goes in between the lines, something slightly different. But yeah, it depends what happens in January. I was going to say for Spurs, that will determine where, if I change from my 7th to a 6th, I think, like I said, a big marquee signing that can provide goals off as well. I think someone that can actually, because one thing talking about, I wouldn't mention Odebert's been very useful for us because he doesn't always hug the touchline. He drifts into the 10 role, which gives us rotations and gives us almost like a double 10 where Xavi will play with a right 10 at times, and then Odebert plays the left 10, and sometimes they can interchange in positions. So that keeps players guessing, pulls them out positions. But he just needs some goals into his team, into his game, which will come, I believe. But I just think because he's so young, I don't feel like he's a player we should rely on in terms of a first teamer. But yeah, I agree with you on the Aston Villa point of view. Aston Villa, they weren't able to strengthen as much as they would like to in that summer window because of PSR XXX. But for us, we do have that window of opportunity where if we do get it right in January, we can pip teams like the Villas and your Bournemouth, etc., etc.
And then Champions League and FA Cup.
Champions League, I think we'll get to the knockouts, but then I think that's as far as we'll get to.
I think last 16. I think last 16.
Yeah, I can't really envision us any higher in that.
Are we going to Wembley this year?
No, not in my opinion. I don't think so. I just think FA Cup is a hard, unless you get a favourable run. It's
Well, actually, hold on. I say that we've lost too many times also against Championship teams, so I can't complain that much.
Yeah, I just think when it comes to, because people were like League Cup was really, but again we drew Newcastle, a good team
away as well, and they haven't lost in real time in that competition for 3 years.
This is it, and so FA Cup's for me, it's quite similar. I know you do get one or two, like you said, Championship teams or League One teams, but when it comes to the latter stages, we play the Premier League teams. In a one-off game, we sometimes just don't get it done, and I'm just going off what we're doing right now. That's what I can go off by at the moment. So that's the reason why. And it sounds a bit pessimistic, but I just think if we compared Ange's first season, were we saying to Ange, "Oh, get a cup in the first season"? It was only because of what happened in the second season when he said he always wins. We're kind of judging Frank's, or we're putting the hope and optimism that Frank will do well in a cup because of what we did in Ange's second season. When I'm looking at it, Ange's first season compared to Frank's first season, cup-wise, is he going to do similar? Probably. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to second season syndrome versus Frank's first season. That's how I'm logically thinking it.
I get it. So I'm going to say I think we're going to go out of the cup in the 4th round. As in the the first round we're in is the 3rd round. I think we'll get through that. We'll get an easy draw on that, and then we'll probably draw someone like Crystal Palace away and lose in the 4th round. That's my prediction.
I'm going to go one better then. I'm going to go 5th
round. Okay, top man. Ash, thanks so much for coming on. Let the audience know exactly where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me on Spurs Kings TV. Just make sure you follow us. We're going to be on tonight, Tuesday night. Sorry if we're getting it out tonight. Wednesdays as well. And lastly, we are doing a massive video at the moment where we're trying to get loads of YouTubers on to discuss things about Frank's first 10 games. So please do look out for that. But yeah, find us there also on X as well. But thanks for having me on, Barnaby.
No problem. We'll get you on again soon, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Do give this video a like and press subscribe for daily Tottenham news. And as we're only about a month and a half away from the transfer window opening, there'll be far more transfer tittle-tattle coming your way as well. And enjoy the very boring international break. Come on, you Spurs. Get yourself to okjersey.com, where you can buy the best football shirts around, including this one I'm wearing now. And of course, the absolutely magnificent black Spurs away shirt. And as if that wasn't enough, if you go onto their website and like the look of one of the shirts there, choose your size, pick the Champions League badge for the sleeve as well if you're that way inclined, then go to checkout and type the code BARN into the coupon section. That's BARN as in short for Barnaby. And when you do, you'll get a whopping 8% off your purchase. Now, I'm no mathematician, but 8% means if you've spent, say, and let's face it, I'm being optimistic here, 100 quid, then you get £8 off, not to be sniffed at. Get yourself to okjersey.com to pick one up, or if you're too lazy to type in the website, just scan the QR code that's on the left of me throughout this video.